because our very beginning of our meeting is rather important, and if we could have everyone here, I would really appreciate that. Okay, 6:04. I haven't heard from her, but she'll come on when she comes on.
Okay, so let me explain that tonight's meeting is a little special because November is the meeting where the board elects the chair and the vice chair. And so the superintendent calls the meeting to order, conducts the election for the board chair, and then the board chair conducts the election for the vice chair, and we go from there. So let me say, and no interruptions from the peanut gallery, by the way. So let's call the meeting to order at 6:04, Joan, and I would say let's. How about if we pick our new superintendent to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Got to do the pledge first.
That's it.
Yep, we're doing it.
That's what we're doing.
I pledge allegiance to
Allegiance
the flag
to the flag of the United States of America
and
and
to
to the republic
For which it
for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
for all.
I think that recitation is a good example of where our country is right now. It wasn't exactly the most unified. But anyway, so let me say, do we have a nomination for board chair?
I'd like to make a nomination for board chair, Rita Volkman, and I'd like to nominate Kim Watson for the board chair.
Second.
Second by Rosemary. Do we have discussion?
I'm grateful you're willing to do it again.
you are a crazy woman, but
Amen.
thank God.
So hearing no further discussion, all those in favor of Kim Shepherdson Watson becoming this coming year's chairman of the Groton Board of Education, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those abstaining? Kim is the chairman of the board, and you have our deep respect and appreciation for your continued leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
Where should we send the Maylocks?
So, I do want to say thank you very much for your vote of confidence in me once again. It is an absolute honor to continue to sort of think loud and soft about the things that happen in the Groton School District. And literally there's not a day that doesn't go by where it's not in my head on some level. And so I just wanted to say it is an honor. It's something that I don't take lightly. And I love the group that we're working with. I love being challenged. I love being critiqued. I love the fact that how well we work together, even when we don't necessarily agree. I just really appreciate that. And I love the fact that we are all here in the best interest of the kids in the district. And so I am very, very, very thankful and honored to do that. And I hope to make the district proud. And I'm also just very thankful for the relationships that I have on the Zoom. Like I think about Beth and her leadership to me as well, and the ability to sort of have, not many districts have the relationship that the union leaders have with the board, vice versa. And it's something that I treasure very dearly with both the teachers union, the administrative union, the clerical union, the para union, and the custodial technician. I just am very appreciative of the fact that we have thought about a process, and we have thought about relationships and the important about that. So once again, thank you very much for this. So we are now needing to have a vice chair because someone has to kind of keep me in line. And so I will open up to hear nominations for vice chair. Liz?
Yeah, I will nominate Andrea Ackerman again if she is willing to continue in service
And I'll
as the
second
vice
that.
chair.
Second?
We have Rita that seconded. Any
Yes.
discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of
Well,
Andrea?
does she accept it?
Yes, she does.
Okay.
She didn't fall off her chair.
And she didn't say no. I guess we could find out right now. For all those in favor of Andrea Ackerman being elected for the vice chair, please say aye.
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 Okay, she didn't oppose, Liz.
Okay.
Aye.
And then abstain. The motion has carried. So once again, thank you guys for believing in the leadership and having Andrea.
Thank you, Andrea, again.
Thank you for your confidence, and I love working. I think it's a really good match. So I really appreciate this. Thank you very much.
Will you be needing the Maylocks also?
We're gonna move on off of Maylocks. So one of the things that the Peanut Gallery was trying to explain for Dr. Grenier is that it doesn't happen every November where we do leadership vote. It just happens that if it's a non-board election year, we do the nominations in November, and if it's a board election, so next year we would be voting in December for to do the January. And so I just, for those of us who are stickler on policy and procedure, just wanted to make sure that people understood that. And so the next part, I am very excited to sort of enter into this conversation. And I do need to change the motion that is on our table. It is still going to be Susan Austin that we are going to nominate, but we do need to put on it that it is in I can't remember what the word, it was just in my head, but it's something about for full approval, it's dependent on the finalization of the contract.
Pending.
Pending the finalization of the contract. And for those of us who have or have not read the agenda, we are going to be doing that at the very end. We're going to be going into executive session with Ken Knight, and hopefully our good friend Lori Lapine will be joining us to kind of have that conversation. And I have sent the board earlier email that had the contract and the proposal, so hopefully you guys have gotten that to look at that. So just wanted to let you know that that's what this motion is going to be. And so Dr. Grenier, can you just read that out loud, and then I'll just need to have someone take that motion.
Yeah, so it would be to approve the appointment of Susan Austin as superintendent of schools effective January 1st, 2021, pending the finalization of the contract.
Can I have
Second?
Second.
all right.
All kinds of seconds here.
Second.
Any discussion? So Susan, I just want to say, I had the privilege of talking to Kim Drylick from the day, and I will repeat what I said to her, which was, we interviewed many, but you were the shining star for us. And it wasn't because of the fact that you were known to us, but that because of your energy, your thoughtfulness, your plans, your ideas, which brought you forward from the pack. And so I am just really excited about this journey with you in the next couple of years. Well, for me, next couple of years, you're on it for the long haul. I did wanted to say that it's just really an honor to have gone through that process, and just to remind you and all others that the validation is that you stood out, and bravo.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Congratulations. Sue.
Wait, we got to vote on it. We got to
Oh, I jumped the gun. Sorry about that.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion that's on the floor, which is to approve the appointment of Susan Austin as superintendent of schools effective January 1st, 2021, pending the finalization of her contract, please say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? That motion has passed
Wow.
unanimously.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Awesome,
I
Susan.
am deeply honored, and I look forward to serving with this board for the sake of our students who we always put first. And I'm happy to do it with this Board of Education.
Do you
Thank
need Malox?
No,
I'm moving past that. So, I think when we were developing the agenda, I just wanted to put that up front, just because, like, who wants to put that embedded in the bottom part of our agenda? We've been working on this really for a long time, and really hard for the past couple of months. And so I wanted you, Susan, to have the glory of having this at the very beginning. So that is why it seems a little bit weird that we're doing her and then going at the end to the contract. I wanted that to be up front. So the next thing is recognition of participation of visitors and delegates. Dr. Grenier, do you know of anyone that we need to be recognizing?
No, although I'm going to introduce a student representative in a few minutes. But no, I don't know of any people who signed up or anything like that.
Okay. Andrea, I'm not quite sure if you were on when we were talking about that, but I think we were talking about, was it January or February, Susan, that we were going to have the Martin Luther King folk come
Yes.
through?
we had actually said prior to their February meeting so that they could do a practice run on us when they go to the church, to St. John's.
Okay. All right, I'm now moving us forward. This is the section of comments from citizens and the agenda items and other subjects of concern that lie within the jurisdiction of the Board of Education. This is the portion of the agenda where the board welcomes comments from citizens. Each presentation should be limited to 5 minutes or less, and citizens should, if possible, submit written comments. Presentations should be related to matters pertinent to Groton. Board members will only ask questions in order to clarify the speaker's presentation and cannot respond during the comments of citizens portion of the board meeting. Citizens should state their names and addresses for the record. Miss Joan, do you have anyone or know of anyone that has requested to talk?
No, I do not.
Okay. Is there anyone that is participating in the Zoom meeting that has something that they would like to chat? If so, if you have, now would be the time. Miss Joan, I'm looking. Do you see anyone?
No, I do not.
Okay. I do not want to stifle anyone's voice. All right. Hearing none, I'm moving us forward. We're not going to have response to comments from citizens because we have no responses. And student representative report, I think that is you, Dr. Grenier.
Yes. Well, let me, Zay and hopefully Allison, do you have a camera? Can we see you? Ah, there you go. Okay.
Sure.
Hey, say.
So in talking to Zay earlier, I sent he and him and Allison a little note, and Zay was letting me know that in as much as he's studying about 11 hours a day, he was unable to actually get to these meetings, and I'm sure Allison is in a similar position of trying to keep her head above water with all this this stuff going on. And we'll be hearing more from Zay in January, in as much as he won a $20,000 scholarship, and we are enormously proud of him. But maybe, Zay, would you like to introduce Allison before you start? I'm not sure what exact report you're going to make, but I have not, unfortunately, in the world of the pandemic, I haven't had the pleasure of meeting Allison yet. So can you do the honors, Zay?
Oh man.
I will say this: you recommended her.
A little
Oh, his.
So they, unfortunately,
Yes.
your internet.
I only said that because of my internet.
Yeah.
Okay. So you know what? So
Let me explain. Zay nominated Allison, and I know he right from the beginning, Allison, when we said we were looking for a talented junior who could have a voice, and I think you'll see as you proceed, the board will turn to you for your opinion and will greatly value your voice. But maybe if your internet is okay, perhaps you could introduce yourself. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, and you're a junior, I know, and but tell us a little bit about your school experience perhaps so far, and maybe why you were interested in serving as a Board of Ed representative.
Okay, so I'm Allison. I'm a junior, like Dr. Gruner said. I was previously a class president for a sophomore class last year, and I am preparing to run again this year. I have had a pretty good high school experience so far. I've been a captain for the JV cheer team last year, and I was interested in doing this because I've always had like a big interest for things like student council and having a voice in things. So I was really happy that Zay reached out and asked.
Well, we're
Welcome.
Welcome aboard, Allison. Welcome
Thank you.
aboard.
Nice to see you.
And so Zay, is there and you could do this through chat if need be, is there a student report that you and Allison were going to share with us?
So Allison, welcome. So I'm Kim, and I am so glad that you are come to join us. I think what you're going to find is that the board has, in the past couple of years, some of Zay has continued, but some of his predecessors really had an active voice within our meetings. And for a long time, the student reps were only coming to these meetings, which was the end of the month, and giving a report. So basically just reporting out and not saying anything. And then Zay and others started to come to our what's called our working meetings, our committee of the whole meetings. And we just got really excited because your voice was being heard and were part of the decision making. You can never, unfortunately, you can't have a vote in that, but you can help lead and help us understand sort of what might be going on. This is a very odd time, no joke, right? But I just wanted to welcome you and to know that the expectation that the board is going to have is that you and Zay are going to be able to be very vocal about sort of what you think is going on or not going on. And that the board really welcomes that. And I think that it's an unusual thing for most districts is to have our student reps as active as we do. So welcome. And I know Zay, maybe you and Allison can kind of work on maybe not both of you having to attend every single meeting. Maybe it would be nice to have you both at the last meeting, but the other working meetings, it would be nice to kind of have you there. So welcome, Allison. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And I think either Dr. Grenier is talking to someone,
Yeah,
and
Kim,
Zay is also
Kim,
talking to someone.
I have
talking to
Zay,
each other.
Zay on the phone, and he can give his report.
Who?
There you go.
Okay, Zay,
All right, I think I can hear myself, so that's cool. Currently, the only thing that I have is that students are very excited about the new distance learning schedule after Thanksgiving. Besides that, students are starting to get used to the new types of learning experiences, which is pretty cool.
could you explain a little bit, when you got the word about the 10 days, why are the students, I think I know, but can you talk a little bit about why you think that's pretty good?
Hold on. All right, there we go. Okay. Personally, I think the reason why more students are very positive about this change is because a lot of them have after-school jobs that they have to get to. And then with the whole distance learning stuff, I've realized that we were getting a little bit more homework after school, even though we were still being at home all day, which set some people back a little.
So having the extra time is helpful.
Yeah,
A little bit more
especially
flexible
since
throughout
now
the
we-
day.
Yeah, especially since now we have after school office hours, Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays instead
Yeah.
of just on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
That also gives students a little bit of extra help.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I see. Allison, what's been your experience when you're a hybrid, I assume? Tell us, did you feel that way about the 10 days after Thanksgiving?
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about it. Like, I think a lot of people are excited for the extra time to talk to teachers if they need extra help or get more work done if they need to. And obviously, people get to sleep in a little more. So I don't think people will be as tired if they have to get more work done. And I think it's pretty good so far. I think a lot of people are excited about it.
Good. And could you tell us a little bit about that after school office hours? I'm not sure the board understands that. I've heard good things about it also.
So if I'm correct, I'm pretty sure the last period ends at 12:45, and then we have until 2 for office hours where we can go on Zooms with teachers privately and go over things we're stuck on, or if we need extra help on just a specific topic, or we could just get more work done on our own and just have a lot more time to finish our homework and get extra work done.
Good, good. Okay, so welcome. It's so nice to see you, sort of. Hopefully we get to see each other in person one of these days. And Zay, it's great to see you, and we'll see you in January for your coronation as a Martin Luther King scholar. So I'm going to hang up with Zay. Thanks, Zay.
Thank you.
So,
Kim,
yes, Rita.
I just had a question for Allison. Allison, do you have to make an appointment to talk to the teachers Monday through Friday through that 12:45 to 2 o'clock? Is it difficult to do?
I don't think it's too difficult. I think you can either email a teacher before. I think that would be the best way to get them in touch to let them know you're going to be joining. But I think for the most part, it's open for anyone in their classes to join so they can go on for extra help if they need it.
Okay, thank you.
I know, Rita, sometimes it's a small group, sometimes it's a one-on-one, sometimes it's just an email. And like Zay said, there's a lot of flexibility to it. Kids are sleeping in, which doesn't surprise me, but they're also extending it, because I know I was talking to Doug Manford the other day from about 7 o'clock in the morning through the evening hours, off and on. The kids are getting on and teachers are responding and working with kids, but certainly during the office hours. I think that's been a positive development.
Is it the same, Dr. Grenier, for the middle school?
I don't think the after, it's the same on Wednesdays. Yes, for sure. They have the office hours and the tutorials. Maybe
I
Susan
can answer that. I did review a schedule that's very similar to the high school with Peter Bass and the middle school administration. And the same thing with the flexibility, more opportunity to ask questions of their teacher, certainly periods. He's actually got a whole schedule which takes, the 4 periods, or actually they're like 8 periods, but the cores are double. So they have an opportunity for the teacher to Zoom and instruct, and then do some independent work for each of the periods. And then there's also the office hours. So instead of the 84-minute block, it's more like an hour block that's split into 2. Okay. So there's still some afternoon extra help and support.
I think.
Thank you.
My sense is that that's going to be actually the first thing that Dr. Grenier is going to talk about is.
Oh, great.
Thanks. Is the post-Thanksgiving instructional program. I'm assuming.
Yes.
So you are more than welcome to move ahead on that.
Okay. So the first thing is we, as you probably have surmised by now, we are really struggling with substitutes, and when there is a case, a positive case, it frequently leads to half a dozen contacts, and when those half a dozen contacts involve teachers or paras, it really wreaks havoc with the the ability for the school to operate. So this Friday, today and tomorrow at the high school, I think on Thursday they had 27 teachers who were out, either out for COVID or meaning that they were contact, mostly that they were contacts, or that they were a sub, and in some cases the subs are contacts, and so we just didn't have the ability to operate the building. So when I looked at the period after Thanksgiving and saw that virtually every school, including last night Charles Barnum, that had I think 7 or 8 contacts. Once I saw that, I realized it was going to be really a problem. So I thought that moving to full distance learning would do a couple things. Would hopefully give us a good 2-week period, actually 14 days for everyone, including the time after the holiday when families are getting together. And it will also give us a good read on where we are in terms of staffing moving forward. But the anticipation is that we'll come back on the 14th, and then there will be 1 full week and then a half a week the next week before Christmas. And then the week on the 4th of January, when we come back, that actually will be a 12-day break itself. And so that's why I was not particularly concerned, although we'll monitor. Susan and I will monitor it as we get close to the new year. But the Christmas break itself will be 12 days. So I'm hoping that by the 4th of January, we should be all set. But, you know, a number of people have said to me, some reporter called me today, like, why don't you just stay out until like Martin Luther King Day? And I said, because as much as Zay and Allison indicate, it gives them good flexibility, and I know they're good students. We have a number of students, when they're in, they do well, and when they're out, they're not particularly engaged. And so we think it's in the best interest of all of our students to continue the hybrid as well as we possibly can. And in response to, I don't know if anyone saw 60 Minutes last night. There was a report about trying to find missing students, disengaged students. So we have done that work. There was a film crew that followed a social worker around. All of our social workers are making home visits. The principals are making home visits. The school resource officers are frequently going with the principals. So we're as a district, we are doing extremely well. There are very, very few students who are disengaged. The bigger problem is those students who are not fully engaged. I don't want to be too optimistic about this. Like I say, some students, particularly those who struggle with learning, do well when they're in person, and they don't do so well when they're not in person. But I think if we can, I mean, the beauty of hybrid is that, given this concern that we had about staffing, we're gonna shift pretty seamlessly. And I think you could tell from Allison and Zay's comments about full distance, it's not exactly a big lift. We just switched to that, and the teachers are well prepared to do that. I spoke to Dennis Kolklaw today, and we received the 3,400 Chromebook computers that were on order, and not only did we receive them, but they've already been distributed. You know, it's an enormous undertaking for our tech crew, and we are working with people to families to be sure they've got hotspots, and you know, it's pretty much we know that we've gotten. Tell me about the iPads, Susan. I'm not sure I knew the details about that for the young children.
The Chrome pads were the first to be distributed. We have doc cams I just want you to know that certainly the 34 Chromebooks and then the Dell laptops, the 1,000 laptops all came from the state of Connecticut and the Dalio Foundation. So those were additional beyond what we had foreseen. So we really feel like our children have great access now. And we're making sure that they have the newer Chromebooks. They're doing an exchange program at the high school and at the middle school. And we're making sure that our little children at the elementary also have one-to-one.
Dennis Kokal was saying, thank you, Susan, that they were really pushing hard to make sure that the modern technology was in the hands of the children before the holiday. And so I think we've pretty much achieved that, and we will continue to distribute as the need arises. But I think we're in very good shape technologically and certainly in terms of our distance learning plan to support the students throughout this period. But I'd be happy to answer questions, Kim.
Peter, 1 second. I'm going to recognize Liz first.
Thank you. Mike, I know that a while back there was an issue with the young elementary school students getting those, I guess, was the iPads or something.
Yeah.
Has that was resolved, correct? I just want to make sure that's clear.
That's the Chrome tablets. They're all set.
Chrome tablets. Thank you.
I think
so.
I still think there are some preschool children that don't have the Chrome tablets.
Well, they have the iPads. So we switched and put the iPads with preschool, and the Chrome tablets are great because not only can they act like a iPad, they're more efficient cost-wise, but they can also act like a Chromebook. So for our first and second graders, they're perfect.
So the iPad is with pre-K?
Preschool, yes.
Preschool. And the Chrome tablets are with what grades again?
K1
K and 1, I think.
I'm sorry, K1 and 2?
I believe so.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Before I take Rita, is there anyone else that has a question from the board? Rita.
My question, Dr. Grenier, is from personal experience, I believe that the middle school and high school students do very well with virtual online learning, but I think the difficulty is with elementary school. And I'd like to know how soon we could switch from hybrid to full person learning for our youngest students. And I know some districts actually have a plan to start with the pre-K through 1 or 2, and then kind of move slowly up from there. And I was hoping that in January, this board would be able to have a discussion about that.
Well, I'll let Susan weigh in. In all my talks, it's very much colored by the optimism surrounding the vaccine. And one of the really smart suggestions that I heard recently was that the teachers would be listed as essential workers, go to the head of the line for a vaccine. If we could get the teachers to the point where they were vaccinated, and we had a very good confidence that they were protected, I think that would be great. And getting all the kids back to school. I mean, it's just, as hard as everyone is working, we know that in-person education is by far superior. And I think, yeah, we will monitor it. Groton and New London, as you probably know, has been really, unfortunately, a hotbed. There have been scores of infections in the last couple of weeks. In the community, and I'll tell you about interscholastic sports, but I was very pleased that the governor decided that we're not going to play youth sports, and because a lot of it is spreading. There's no question. A lot of it is spreading there.
So Joan, I am wondering if you could make sure that it gets somewhere on a committee of the whole agenda item that we talk about, well, we're always going to talk about that, but but the board specifically have a question or conversation about elementary. My sense is at that point, we're also going to have more information about did the distance between Thanksgiving or after Thanksgiving and then the distance around Christmas, about whether that had any difference. But I think there's a lot to go into that, and that's not necessarily about what our conversation is for today in terms of that we're just talking about the Thanksgiving. Sorry, everyone's moving again on my screen. So I was talking to Rita, and because on my screen she was on to the right, and all of a sudden I realized I was making eye contact with Ken Knight, even though he didn't know. But is there any other things about the Thanksgiving that we want to have a conversation about? So Dr. Grenier, is what I'm hearing is that after tomorrow, our students are going to be all virtual for
10 days.
10 days. Now, Wednesday, is that a holiday? I can never remember the school calendar. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a real holiday.
It's a real holiday. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday are days off. And so on Monday, the 30th, starts the whole district's
That's right.
virtual learning experience. Is that correct?
Exactly. Mhm.
All right.
2 full weeks.
All right. All right. So Dr. Grenier, can you speak to
Yep.
the
Sure. The CIAC met last week after pretty extensive dialogue with the Department of Public Health, and the contests were slated. Season was slated to actually start in the first week of December. They postponed all team activities until January 19th. There is a period where coaches can conduct conditioning, but only with 4 athletes at a time. It's, you know, socially distanced, no more than 4 athletes at a time. So starting on the plan is starting on January 19th, team activities, not games yet, but team activities like practices will be allowed to be held by CIAC rules. They did say, they also voted that there will be, for the rest of this year, there will be no high risk wrestling, or there was a talk about a football season, like a shortened spring season, 11-on-11 full contact football, boys lacrosse. So there are those high risk sports that they're saying will not be played. The moderate risk sports are still on. So, for example, swimming is on. Basketball. I don't think they have any venues for indoor track, so I don't think we're going to be doing indoor track. But as I said, the governor and the Department of Public Health commissioner has required that all youth sports. So we had some youth football leagues and other volleyball leagues and so forth. I know private. They've all been shut down. The other thing that unfortunately I can tell you, Allison, is that competitive cheering is considered a high risk. So that will be postponed for a year. So I think the athletic officials are doing as best they can. If things get better in January, you know, I think we all have our fingers crossed. If they get better, then there very well may be a January basketball season. But you know, it's the same thing as the fall. It's extremely frustrating for the athletes. They postponed it, and then they said no, we're going to start in mid-December, and now they've postponed mid-December. We're going to start on the 19th of January, the day after Martin Luther King Day. The idea would be that there would be, I think, 2 weeks of practice, and then the month of February would be contests, and wrap it up the first week of March. So we'll see. I think a lot of it is going to depend on on the experience that we have in this area. No out of state competition. So they're really following some good health guidelines, and all the athletes will wear masks. Basketball, for example, it's going to be interesting. Yeah, hard to imagine.
Yep. You're on still, Dr. Grenier.
Oh, okay. So I just wanted to mention, I was so pleased. 52 people participated in the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Book Club talk that was held last Tuesday, November 17th. The committee, and I know there are several board members on the committee, chose one of the primary steps this year, and I think it's been enormously successful so far, is to have a book discussion hosted, facilitated by a couple of CREC people that are really terrific. A woman named Treda Collier Dickinson and Darcy, Linda Darcy. They facilitated this discussion of the book entitled "So You Want to Talk About Race," and it was really terrific. We broke out into they separated us into breakout rooms, and they gave us some focused questions, and really had some terrific sharing. It was a very diverse group, men and women, different races, different age, and people really were able to share their voice. There's going to be another, well, actually there will be two others about this particular book. The next one is December 15th. And there are copies of the books I know that are available in the district if people are interested. And it's not like you have to, if you didn't go to the first one, you can't go to the second one. They're going to read the next, I think it's chapter 4, 5, 6, and 7. But it's well worth it. And as I said to everyone, I was so pleased that in the aftermath of the tragedy of George Floyd, there were a number of organizations that made a statement. And I remember when, instead of the board simply making a statement, we actually put this DEI committee together, and they formed a multi-5-year plan that would really try to look at the policies and the practices. And we had some really heart to heart. It was very honest and very much and very respectful, very civil. But we talked about looking at, like, one question was, do you see any evidence where race plays a factor? And of course, everybody said COVID. I was telling Susan today that the Hartford Courant did a report on where the cases of COVID are, and they did it by town, and it was a little bar graph, and most towns had a little tiny line, a little tiny line, a little tiny line, and then the next town had a big long line, and it was a big city, and little big long line. Obviously, something is going on there. You know, it's not a racist plot, but we talked about how race plays a factor in our society, and I thought it was really well done. And I see that my friends Ada Allen and Nadine Macklin are here, and I don't know if they're co-directors of this whole project. I don't know if they want to. I didn't warn them, so I'm not sure they even want to say anything. Ada or Nadine, do you want to hop in?
Hi, good evening, everyone. This is Nadine. I was not prepared, therefore my video will not be going up. But, but no, I just echo the same sentiments that Dr. Grenier shared about the book club or the book discussion last week. We had a lot of real transparent conversations just about race and just the inequities that we may witness or have even experienced ourselves. It was just a wonderful start. So thank you.
Thank you, Nadine. All right,
I
so,
think Ada may want to say something, Kim.
oh, I'm
Ada,
sorry.
you want to
Jeff.
hop in?
Just briefly, I too wasn't prepared, therefore my video won't be on as well, but I appreciate the opportunity to work with the groups that we worked with, just to begin the conversations. So thank you for supporting the book club.
You're welcome.
All right, Andrea.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I was part of that as well. And it was a richness of conversation. It was really a wonderful experience. So thank everybody for that.
Yay.
It served as a real wake-up call, I think, to all of us that we needn't look for big problems, but rather little things like mispronouncing a student's name.
Yes.
And the effect that that would maybe, it usually does, have on a child or an adult. Everything, all of these things lead to a stereotyping. And so it's kind of a backing up and recognizing how this all goes together. It was a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for all of us.
Yay. Thank you, Jane. All right, Susan, I'm going to move us along a little bit. So, Susan.
Okay. So I was just going to ask Mark if I would be able to share my screen when I'm ready.
Yes.
Okay. First, I get the update on the hybrid and remote, and we heard from our student representatives a little bit about their, ideas on moving to the remote learning. We've actually worked on our website. Principals have worked with teachers and certainly taken a lot of the survey information to help inform what's going to be happening, and also our original plan that is published on the website. So we did a little bit of work with the website just to help make it clearer. And I'd like to show, because I'm hoping we have parents out there either watching now or later, and would actually go to the website to gather some information. So let me share my screen. So this is the homepage when you come to the grotonschools.org. And of course, at the top, you see the red banner, which is our superintendent and COVID-19 updates, which continue, and you can see historically what those are, the welcome. And then you see the 4 major components of hybrid learning, distance learning guidelines, attendance matters, and our original school reopening plan that has a plethora of different resources for families and teachers. So I want to start with the hybrid learning plan and just share with you, because as you know, in a hybrid plan, it is partly in-person and partly distance. And one of the things that we used in creating our own plan was the Connecticut State Department of Education guidelines. And they have multiple addendums, and this one addendum 12 with Reimagining Connecticut Classrooms, planning instructional time for remote learning in hybrid and full remote learning, was really a great resource to us. And in looking at that, it talks about the optimal amount of time learning each day is determined by the need for teaching and learning, and that could be direct instruction, for practicing our skills, for applying them, exploring, creating, whether it's a piece of art or a piece of writing, and demonstrating our knowledge. So the assessment piece is in there too. So all of that, not just the Zoom time with the teacher, but it's that independent work, it's sometimes the collaborative work, all the work that goes into learning each day. And so these different colored circles tell us, when we're talking about very young children, preschool, pre-K, it's at least 2 hours. And that doesn't mean 2 hours on Zoom. That means having a morning meeting or read aloud with my teacher, having some activities on Seesaw, being able, one of the things we've just done, thank you to the Board of Ed Curriculum Committee, is we're adding handwriting without tears pre-K through first grade, and also a cursive writing pilot, so that they have little workbooks that they can actually practice how to make the letter C and D and see and we've always taught this, but there's actually a workbook component and an online component. So there's more additional practice, which the teachers really felt kids needed. And that's something that they can practice at home. and parents can see them practicing. So that we're really thrilled about. When we get to K through 5, and you know, K is closer to pre-K than it is to 5. So that 4 hours is just that window, and know that it's not only the core curriculum, but it's also their specials. So whether they have an art period in there for half an hour, or you know, something with physical education where the PE teacher brings the kids together on a Zoom or gives them an activity to do even at home. So, and then when we get to the blue, where we're talking about our secondary, middle school, and high school kids, you know, that 5 hours rounds it up. But know that there's, you know, they might have some additional homework. It takes kids different amounts of time to complete work. Certainly Zay would love 5 hours in a day, and it sounds like he's working around the clock at times. So there are kids that spend a lot more time, but it's going to be at least that 5 hours. And that doesn't mean all Zoom time. You know, they might have a 30-minute Zoom for their class period, and then they have to, off they go, readers, writers, mathematicians, and do some work either alone or with another, you know, student or two. And then they have to, you know, hand in the work, or if they need to ask the teacher a question, the Zoom link might be open for questions and answers and getting feedback. So I thought that really was a helpful picture for families to understand better what the expectation is for when they are remote. And then, you know, another expectation is that students are expected to attend these virtual classes and complete their assigned work independently and collaboratively. And this goes into the attendance feature, and it also goes into the grades. And we still expect kids to do their very best. And if they're having a hard time, they need to ask their teacher questions, just like in the real world when they're really in school with their teachers. And teachers also reach out to them, and we have tutors and teachers and special educators and paraprofessionals, all educators in our field, reaching out to kids and being there to support them. And then when it comes to distance learning, there's a little click on here, but you could also go out, and I'll show you another way to get there. So in looking at distance learning, there are some roles and responsibilities for staff. And what is the expectation? Parents. Because this is a true partnership, we need parents and teachers collaborating together for the sake of the students more now than ever before. And then what are the roles and responsibility for our students? So let's see, I'm gonna back out of that. So you can also find the distance learning guidelines under distance learning, and those are the roles and responsibilities. And then the third piece that I wanted to share with you and share with families that may be watching is that attendance still matters. So by attendance, you might have students who are fully remote, but they need to connect. They need to be able to get onto their lesson. They need to be able to do their work, be able to ask questions. So that's still very important. And taking attendance these days is much more difficult than it ever was. You know, you can be attending in person, or you can be attending remotely. You can be tardy in person or tardy remotely. You can be unverified or absent in both worlds. And then the added piece coming from the state of Connecticut is the expectation that you need to log on to your LMS systems, you need to complete your assignments, and then that should count for at least a half day. And you saw the kind of structured time frames that we have for each of the grades. So like Mike had said before, it's really important that we work with families and we find kids who are disconnected and really analyze what's going on and try to help families to support the kids so that they do connect and they do engage in learning. We just don't want to lose anybody.
Is the hours that you offered in the circles, is that true for Wednesday as well?
So on Wednesday, yes, they do have work to do on those days, but the time frame for the Zooming and the office hours is more in the morning part of the day. And then in the afternoon, they are kind of working more independently. They're on their LMS system. They might be watching a video. They might be doing their printing practice, reading a book. So they are expected to be doing work on Wednesdays too. And work is given to them on Wednesdays, should be. So.
Other questions about that before Susan moves on? All right. Overview of the Teachers College.
So I'd like to do a quick introduction, and we have Val Nelson on here to help out. But our first Department of Defense Education Activity Grant was in literacy 5 years ago. We finished it up last year. It was an amazing, amazing work, and we saw so much growth. Val's going to give us some details. But I have to say that the work with Teachers College as a partner, Columbia University for reading and writing, was one of the best things we could have ever done. And the sustainability plan that we have in this district by having literacy coaches in the schools, by being able to have all the resources that we've been able to provide from this $1 million grant, to have all the embedded coaching, so everybody, every teacher has become an expert in this and can train new teachers along with the coaches. There's still opportunities we can take part in with Teachers College. They're mostly done remotely if we need them. But one of the best things we purchased at the end of the grant was this remote learning units of study, and teachers have said that they are just awesome. And we have these guest teachers, staff developers from Columbia University, being able to zoom into the classroom, and the teacher can put it up on the learning platform for the kids to watch and observe, and then be part of the instruction. The teacher can be part of the instruction as well. So that was a really terrific resource. We see it being used across the districts. I've actually walked through and had a couple teachers grab me from the hallway into the classroom to see it happening. So, but I want to just introduce Val Nelson because she has been the force behind this as our grant director. And she still has a math grant she's working on, but the literacy grant has completed, and she wrote a wonderful report that she shared with Mike and I and had to share with the Department of Defense. So Val, take it from here.
Hi, good evening, everyone. The title of the grant was called Embracing Change Through Literacy, and it had two real components. One, the literacy skills that Susan talked, and I'll address a little bit later. And there was also a social emotional piece to it. And we had done that in the beginning of the grant 5 years ago by involving somebody named Lester Laminack, who talked about using I have the book here, Bullying Hurts, Teaching Kindness Through Read Alouds and Guided Conversations. So all the teachers, K through 8, received training from Lester the first year of the grant, and we were able to purchase books for each teacher to have, and also the library books that Lester recommended that the teachers use are now housed in each of the libraries. But the main component of the grant, as Susan mentioned, was the Teachers College Reading and Writing Project with Teachers College of Columbia University. Each classroom teacher support the reading specialists, and at some schools, the special ed teachers receive 5 sessions of embedded training every year. Okay, so that was a total of 25 sessions over the entire grant. And we partnered schools together. For instance, Charles Barnum was with CK, Butler was with NEA, Morrison was with Claude Chester, so that there was a rich dialogue going on. We had the presenter would come in, and we would have the teachers from the schools together. Presenter would spend half of the training session doing intensive training in the Teachers College model. And then the other half of the session would be where they would do demo lessons in the classroom, teacher's classroom. So it's kind of cool to see the person coming in from Columbia going in and doing a lesson in one of our teachers' classrooms. The staff developers were excellent. The first 2 years of the grant, we concentrated more on having the teachers become more aware of the writing program, and then we switched to reading, and the last 2 years it was a combination of both. The training was exceptional. We had a number of different trainers. In fact, for the 6, 7, and 8, we had one trainer who Susan has booked for, we've already booked, we paid ahead of time for this year coming up, Cornelius Minor, who wrote the book, We Got This, and it's about equity, talking about equity, access, and the quest to be who our students need us to be. So we are very lucky to have some really top-notch presenters. And starting at the beginning of the grant, Groton kind of lacked a cohesiveness in our literacy instruction. People were doing things all over the place. And this was almost, it was a total systemic change. Now everybody has continuity of instruction. We have district-wide. Students have the same language, they have the same expectations, they use the same routines. So a child goes, in fact, teachers are so positive about it. If you go from first to second grade, the children know the routine already. Everybody's using the same language, knows what to expect. And besides the teachers learning new skills on how to teach reading and writing, it also provided a great opportunity for collaboration. Teachers would share ideas, they'd get together. You know, you don't have very often where you could sit around a table, CK third grade teachers and Barnum teachers talking and sharing ideas about what works, what doesn't work. And that was an excellent, also a lot of rich dialogue and a lot of ideas coming from teachers exchanging. The teacher response was excellent. After every one of the trainings, we gave a survey and they had to rate from 0 to 7, whether it was pertinent, whether it was a good session. And just, it never ranked below 90%. You know, some presenters a little bit lower, some better, but never ranked below 90. And most of the time, the teachers rated it 95% of the teachers rated it 6 or 7, that it was good or excellent. Compared to, like in 2015, 72% of the teachers rated it as good, and the end was 97%. So we also gave a teacher self-efficacy survey to see because I also had an evaluator who helped with this, and she sent something out to judge what degree of confidence do you have in implementing the program. And in 2015, 66% of the teachers said they did. In 2019, 86% of the teachers felt they had an effective, they had a really great degree of confidence. I won't go on forever, but this is so exciting because I think it was such a wonderful thing for Groton. I have 2 quotes I want to read that teachers put in the self-efficacy. One of the teachers said, "My greatest successes included the ability to effectively differentiate for each student using conferring, table conferences, mid-workshop teaching, small group strategies, guided reading, in addition to the mini lessons. The opportunities for teaching went far beyond the mini lesson, and it led to a shift in my approach to instruction across all subjects." And one of the things that Susan had suggested back with the middle school training, 6, 7, and 8, we had the language arts teachers. Some of the training we brought in the social studies teachers, so that the social studies teachers would also, because everybody is a reading teacher, and hopefully this process would integrate throughout the curriculum. Another teacher said, "The classroom conversations sparked by students reading and writing have been wonderful and have in turn increased student engagement in reading and writing independently." So I'm really overwhelmed with the success of the grant. And I think a lot of it is due to teachers were so enthusiastic and open-minded. The willingness to learn new strategies. I mean, it's tough to learn anything new. And this was a whole shift. And the teachers were so positive about it, and they shared their successes, their failures. It was wonderful to start from the beginning to the end to see how much growth the teachers had made. And also, we had the support of Dr. Rainier, Susan, all the administrators. There wasn't a session that we had that we didn't have either a principal, Susan was there, Dr. Rainier stopped in. So everybody knew that the district was involved. In fact, Teachers College, the staff presenters would be very impressed the fact that we had such buy-in from the district, not only from the teachers, but from the administrators also. And we talked about, Susan mentioned sustainability, and that was huge. And we have purchased materials throughout the 5 years of the grant as needed. But this summer, I spent the last probably over $100,000 on providing materials to the schools so that the children would have a diverse selection of classroom libraries. We have fiction, nonfiction, multicultural, so that they have the resources to continue with the program. We also did PD because of obviously COVID. A lot of our professional development went to Zoom, and the teachers, the staff presenters switched from doing the regular program to teaching how you do virtual learning, how do you do long distance learning. We also sent with the grant money, we sent teachers beyond the regular Zoom meet, we run our regular TC sessions. Our Teachers College ran a number of Zoom distance learning on how to deal with parents, how to help parents during this time. So it was really worth it. Susan also mentioned that we purchased subscriptions to virtual teaching resources in phonics, writing, and reading so the teachers could use it this year. And I think the big thing is you have the teacher collaboration at the schools. They share, they will continue to share. And I know the district, new teachers, and if more training comes up, I know the district has our backs in a sense that they will definitely provide for it. But in the end, I just know that finally our scores have increased in reading and writing. But to me, the biggest transformation I've seen in the 5 years I've been with it is the way the students approach writing and reading. When you, 5 years ago, when you go to a 5th grade class or a 3rd grade class, okay, boys and girls, we're going to do writing. And I'd say 50% you hear moans, probably from the teacher too. You know, writing and reading, especially writing. Now, I wish you would all go into a classroom, go into a kindergarten classroom. The children are so excited to share their writing, the reading, to see you walk into class and kids are in corners, clusters, doing partner reading. There's just such a wonderful enthusiasm from the teachers and the students about this. In fact, we had a summer writing academy. Unfortunately, we couldn't do it this summer, but we had to turn students away. And when we sent a survey out to parents, we had 100% positive reaction from the parents. So all in all, it was a wonderful grant. We used all our money wisely. We have a lot of, in fact, I returned $17 out of $1 million. I was very proud of myself. But it just was a good grant, and I'm very proud to be part of it.
Thank you, Val. Jay?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Ms. Nelson, I just want to say that we really appreciate your years of service to the district. I have to say you're just as passionate about our students today as when I first met you, back when we could visit classrooms.
I love what I do. It's great. The school system's great. I'm excited to be working with, I think we have great teachers, great administrators, great leadership, so it's fun.
And change, I think change can be difficult in the beginning, but it seems like you were the perfect agent to help bring that about in the district, and I thank you very much.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you.
Jay, you are 100% right. She was the Pied Piper of this whole program. She coordinated it. She was the cheerleader. And Susan and I have been in classrooms. You probably remember when you were kids and the teacher would say, okay, we're going to recess now, and everybody would cheer. You go into classrooms now and the teacher say, okay, put your math stuff away or your science stuff away. We're now going to do a readers workshop. And the kids are wild excited. And then when they say, okay, we have to stop now, like, ah, darn, we have to stop. And it's amazing. It has totally changed the reading and writing, the whole literacy program. And Val has been right at the forefront of it. And we're greatly indebted to you, Val.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Val. Thank
Can I say one thing? Val, go Wilkes, huh?
Many, many centuries ago, Andrea.
This is the Wilkes Bar Mafia here.
And you know, we also can't overlook the fact that Susan spearheaded this program and brought it to the district, and has a really great relationship with Columbia Teachers College, and championed it even when, you know, I think some people questioned whether it was the direction we wanted to go in, but she knew it was right, and she and Val, I think, worked together, and we owe them both a debt of gratitude for this very successful outcome.
Thank you.
Well done.
Well done.
Thanks.
All right, where are you, Mr. Knight? Oh, there you are. You're now on my left part of my screen.
I'm moving around.
Yes, you are.
All right, so the object code summary as of November 17th shows that we have a projected unexpended balance of $133,166. There's two primary factors that are driving this. Number one, our Corona Relief Fund grant application was approved at the beginning of this month. And so it has an impact on some costs that that we're incurring in support of all this, but it's having an impact on some of our base costs, such as substitute teachers that we have in our building substitutes that we have on staff, and some of the paras that we're utilizing for some of the social distancing work that's being done. The other factor that's driving this is that we're starting to get in our out-of-district tuition bills. We've gotten in Learn and Ledyard, and we're seeing a reduction in those enrollments by about 10%, and so that's driving some additional, not really savings, but cost avoidance, I guess we can call it. That's what's driving that 133, 166 at this point. I think that's somewhat conservative, but we'll continue to review this as we go forward. But we're only a third through the year, so we want to be somewhat conservative at this point.
Any questions about the object code? Yeah, I looked at that, Ken, and I was like, what? 100?
Yeah.
I'm used to 70, 60, 50, 13. So going on to the healthcare.
The healthcare report, that also is showing, a positive trend for us, in that for the month of September, it was the claims were only 61.9% of budget, and year to date we're at 64.8% of budget. Our health insurance consultants continue to tell us this is a result of COVID, and there's the postponed procedures, missed appointments that are happening, that's driving that down. They do warn us that when we get out of this, we should expect to see that turn around, and we should be above budget when all those things start to come back. But it remains to be seen when exactly it's going to happen at this point. So, so it continues to trend at around the 65% threshold and usually July and August and September are higher months for us, because that's when a lot of the staff have procedures and stuff like that done. But we're actually, because of the situation, we're seeing that much lower.
Any other questions about that?
So we're just continuing to monitor the health insurance reserve very carefully, and we'll make a report to the finance committee. We have a fairly comprehensive, very early proposal of a budget, Jay, that we'll be sharing with everyone.
All right, Mr. Kilpatrick.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
So I have a couple of items that I'm going to report on tonight. The first is the fantastic milestone that we reached at the Thames River Magnet School. We had the topping off ceremony last week, and Rick Norris and Dr. Grenier spoke and elaborated on exactly what that means. And for those who would like to see it, Mark Russell put together a very nice, well-done video once again, and I believe it's on our website, that they should be able to find that on the website. So the weather was good. It was a little bit muddy from the rains that we had previous to it, but a good weather day for it, and a nice group gathered, and it was good to see this project moving along on a good pace. The second item is the consideration of the 3 schools that are slated for closing at the end of the school year. Claude Chester, SB Butler, and Mary Morrison, and what to do about those schools. As we talked about in our last gathering, Claude Chester has some structural issues regarding the gymnasium floor. So that would be something that would be of concern and need to be looked at were we to consider to keep that school in operation. SP Butler needs a roof replacement at about roughly $1 million. And of course, that has not had the asbestos removal done at that school yet either. So those are pretty big dollar investments in that site. And so we've made the recommendation, I made the recommendation that we continue to keep Mary Morrison School online and use that. It's in a good area of town. There's a lot of growth over there, apartments and so on going on over in that neck of the woods. And it's in better condition than the other two schools. And with the exception of the driveway issue, if we need to open that school up again as swing space, we'd have to address the traffic patterns regarding the driveway. But other than that, the building itself runs very well. We have very few problems in that building. The asbestos has already been done. There's been a lighting upgrade in that building and so on and so forth. So, and it's in a good spot in town. And so that building could be used for swing space in the event that we need to provide more if we continue to get the growth that may happen here with the increases at Electric Boat and depend upon what happens at the sub base. It would also serve us as a space for robotics to go, at least on a temporary basis. If it needed to be opened again, we'd have to move robotics again, but robotics is pretty self-sufficient and able to while we don't want to have to move them around, they've done a terrific job and been pretty cooperative in moving their projects and their program around town. So it would be a good place for them. And again, there would be additional storage space in that building too at Mary Morrison. So that would be the recommendation on our part.
Kim, I just wanted to also report, I spoke to the town manager today and I explained exactly what Sam just said, and he concurred, and he anticipates that Mary Morrison will be used for the swing space and robotics, and the other two would be turned over to the town, or at least that was my recommendation.
I also informed the moderator for the RTM and also the town mayor to let them know that we were going to be voting, but this is what the recommendations were, so that I think in years past they have felt like we have not communicated that to them. So I was trying to sort of to do that, and just as Dr. Grenier was doing that with John Burt. Any questions about that? We did have a committee of the whole meeting about this just recently. And that we are going to be bringing these buildings up for a vote today. All right, hearing none, we're going to go to committee reports. Policy, Lee, are you still?
Yes, can you at least hear me? It's Lee.
Yes, Lee, can I just put you on hold for 1 second? Rita, did you need to talk?
Of course.
Thank you, Lee.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Sam what the estimate is for the gym floor at Claude-Chester to repair it. To me, that is such a central school for our community. And I was curious as to whether or not you thought the town, would it be very expensive to replace that, and whether the town would still be able to use that building?
I don't have an estimate at this time. I think that we would have to bring in an engineering firm to come in and do an in-depth study of that particular structure and make sure that, and see exactly what would need to be done.
Okay. And would the school-based health center be moving also? That is there? Yeah.
Yes.
That I'm not sure, but we're going to have a school-based health center at the new elementary school. So
we'll retain all the school-based health centers. Yes.
One will go to the Thames River Magnet and one will go to the Mystic River Magnet.
Right. It's just at that location, it's so easy for families to walk to. you know, for people to
Yeah, you're right.
not even need a car.
You're right.
Well, maybe the town would be willing to form a building
Yes.
or to lease out that space to have the community health center there for medical stuff. I mean, that would be perfect. But I think that we've had lots of discussions about this. And we really have all felt that Mary Morrison was the building that was in the best shape, and also the location where the potential of having the most population growth, if we needed to have a swing space.
Thank you.
Lee, please go on. Oh, Jay. Sorry, Lee, one more second.
I'm sorry, I just want to clarify. So I believe what Sam told us was that he did have an engineering firm in to check Claude Chester, and it could be used for normal sporting events, that sort of thing. But the concern was bringing in the heavy equipment of the robotics, that it's not cleared for that kind of weight. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sam, but
No, you're absolutely correct. The engineering firm that did the study for and did the work with Wes Greenleaf when he was here 10 years ago had asked us to take a look at it again 10 years hence. And of course, that came up. And they came in and we actually hired a contractor to go down there and make the necessary repairs that last winter to bring it up to standards again. For exactly that, for use as a school. But when you start talking about adding lathes and milling machines that weigh essentially tons, and the vibrations and so on that those would cause on a floor, I would just feel more comfortable if an engineering firm came in and determined whether that could be done or not.
thank you.
One last time? Hearing none. Lee, can you go on to the policy?
Yes, we met in, I've lost time because I wasn't around for a while, but we have for you sexual harassment, some new information on it. We will meet again, not this week, but next week, I believe.
I'm hoping that you have policies around sexual harassment and not that you are going to.
We have two. Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
We don't give lessons.
Curriculum, Andrea.
Curriculum will meet on the 14th, and we're having Miss Hodge from the high school come down and talk about the new course in for African American and cultural history.
So, Andrea, I will send this to you if you would like, but I sent it to Susan and Mike, and they probably didn't understand why I was sending it to them. But it was this whole concept about understanding diversity and inclusion is that how we teach, and also who are our authors, who are our writers, and that not to have a Hispanic course, but that actually each history class should be talking about all different people, all different places within this country and this world, regardless of whether it was a Caucasian person. It was actually very fascinating. But it's about how to take away the colonization of curriculum development. It was actually interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Thank you. You're going to send that to me, you said?
Yes, I can. Yes.
Thank you.
Kim?
Yes.
And just to reiterate, this course is not by our choice. This is a state required course. And so they've made the curriculum, they're giving it out to everybody, and we have no choice but to offer this course. Right. So we just want to make sure that everybody understands that we agree with you, but it's, this is a state mandate.
Right, and I wouldn't want anybody to think that we have no choice, so we're doing it and we don't want to, but certainly not.
Oh, I didn't mean it like that. I'm
we
sorry.
Very much want this.
We do. We much
yeah,
want this.
I just, sorry if I
And
misspoke.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to clarify that. And, but I really like the idea of an all-inclusive look at history through, and not just because we have a course that we must teach.
Finance and
Kim?
facilities? Yes.
I think the next course that's going to come before the curriculum committee is going to be a Native American course that has been proposed in the legislature and that I believe will definitely pass this year. So that will be another new course that will be offered at Fitch probably next September. So, something to look forward to and well needed.
Jay, finance and facilities? Thank you, Rita.
Yes, so we met on November 2nd. We discussed the issues that Sam presented tonight about why Mary Morrison as the building to retain. We also talked about the closeout of the construction on the middle school, the certificate of occupancy, that the synthetic surface field has now been striped for all the sports that will be played there. We talked about preparing for the budget. Dr. Grenier mentioned that we are looking into the cost of a architectural study on the Fitch Fieldhouse that would not only renovate it, but also make that more equitable for men and women, as well as we talked about the CARES budget. And we also went over supplemental impact aid history for RTM.
Wow, thank you, Jay. And you guys are meeting on Monday, correct?
No, the 7th.
Oh, 7th. Then you're not meeting on the 30th.
Correct.
And then our other committees, Rita.
Learn met on November 12th. We had a very interesting presentation from Christine Stringfellow, who is the superintendent of the Norwich Public Schools. It was she did an excellent job. And if anybody would like me to forward the PowerPoint presentation by her, I could do that to you. Let's see, the teacher residency program that I had talked about before, that the Learn Dr. Ryan Dolan is going to be reaching out to districts to access participation for teacher residency. This is going to be, luckily, superintendents from Groton, Norwich, New London, East Lyme, Guildford, Ledyard, and Waterford all are very much interested in doing this residency program. And Learn is going to be asking the state, with the other rests, to provide some of the funding, because it does cost $65,000 per candidate. But that candidate then, it's for diversity, and it's so that people that are paraprofessionals with college degrees can then become part of our teaching staff the following year. So hopefully that will go through. There's a number of different topics that we thought about. Learn purchased a new software tool called Thought Exchange, which is to assist districts with focus group work for engaging communities and shaping their programming and learning, which they can offer to districts now, which is exciting. So that's about it. I mean, there's a lot that went on, but that's about it for now.
Thank you, Rita. Any questions? Town Council, RTM, and Board of Ed liaison. Oh, I guess that's me. It was actually it was great. We had a good time. But I as always, a lot of the discussion was about the new buildings and about hybrid, and about our work around the budget is what I can remember, that we kind of talked about. Once again, I'm sorry, it was a lifetime ago, but like 3 weeks ago. Board of Ed, AGSA, GEA liaison. I think we met in October, and I think we reported out on that as well. And I think we have one coming up. Is that in March, Beth? No,
January.
January. Yeah. Groton Scholarship, Lee?
We did meet, and my minutes are sitting far away from me, and I'm not moving real fast these days. but I believe are meeting again in December. And I'm learning most of the people are involved with Chelsea Groton. But it's a very nice meeting, and we'll have more information next time.
Thank you, Lee. Superintendent search. I think Joan. I think we've met that committee's.
I'll take it off.
Thank you, my lovey. And I was trying to be pithy and I couldn't find the word. And athletic fields, Jay, that's also done. Is that correct?
Well, it was supposed to be done, I believe, last Thursday. There wasn't a quorum. However, 2 weeks ago, we had a public hearing to get public input on the final proposal. So I'm hoping, I believe it's next week, we'll vote, and then that entire plan will go to the town council.
So I'm going to keep you on for just one more month then. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Oh, and he sighs so heavily. All right, the next, I am really sorry that I am punchy. Can you tell that I need a holiday? All right, so the action item is the consent agenda, which is all matters listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion with points of clarification will be allowed. So I will take a motion for the consent agenda. Rosemary, can I have a second?
Second from Lee.
I'll do Lee. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those who will approve, you would think that I would have this part down. I do not. All those who are in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye.
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 Oppose, abstain. That motion has carried. The board would like to thank the Knights of Columbus that made a donation of $250 to the Transition Academy for the Academy's use of the Groton Community Center for their fitness program. And also the Knights of Columbus made a donation of $509.28 to the Transition Academy as well. We would like to say thank you very much for support of our district, one of our district programs. I don't see anything on the old business, so we're going to move on to the new business. And Jay, would you be willing to read the motion for number 1, please?
I move to approve the retention of Mary Morrison for future use by the robotics team and or use as swing space.
Can I have a second to that motion, please? I've got Rosemary. Discussion? I think that this is something that we have vetted for a couple of years now, not just last committee of the whole meeting, but that we have been talking about this for a while.
I was going to say years, not
Yeah.
weeks.
Yeah.
Move on.
All right, hearing no discussion. All those in favor of the motion to approve the retention of Mary Morrison for future use by the robotics team and or use as a swing space, please say aye.
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 Oppose? Abstain? That motion has carried. Jane, would you be willing to read number 2 motion, the motion for number 2?
Or to approve the transfer of Claude Chester Elementary School and S.B. Butler Elementary School to the town of Groton following the 2021 school year.
Can I
Second.
have, thank you.
That was Liz.
Any
Sorry.
discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion to approve the transfer of Claude Chester Elementary School and the S.B. Butler Elementary School to the town of Groton following the 2020-21 school year, please say aye.
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 Oppose? Abstain? That motion has carried.
Big deal.
That is a huge deal. Thank you, guys. Liz, would you be willing to read the motion for number 3, please?
Certainly. To approve policy P4118.112, sexual harassment as a first reading.
Can I have a second to that, please? I've got Rosemary. Discussion. Susan, Lee, oh, and Dean. Dean, Dean, I will recognize you once we just get some background on that, and then you can ask as many questions as
No,
you
that's
have.
fine. Yeah.
Great.
So this was a policy that we actually worked on back in 2016, but new legislation has come up, so we had to revise it. So I've asked Denise Doolittle, who's actually gone to webinars and talked to lawyers about this and has helped us structure it. So as always, in this policy, the 4,000s really relates to the adults in the school system, where the next one, the 5,000s, relates to students. And the green, of course, is all the new language based on the new law. The red is what was stricken from the older 2016. And then there's also a policy that goes with it. And Denise did a wonderful job reviewing this with the policy committee. And I asked her to review it because she really takes us through what the law, the new law legislation is expecting and how it's changed the current policy. So Denise, are you there?
I am. Thank you, Susan. Hello, everyone. I'm going to try to be very brief. Just to set the stage, on August 14th, 2020, we really had the first legislation ever passed that addresses sexual harassment in the school system. So this is quite historic, and there are quite a few changes to the legislation that I'm just going to highlight in terms of changes. And when I highlight the changes, they are applicable to both the student and staff policy. So in 1972, when Title IX was enacted, the focus was primarily on gender equity in sports. There was no note of sexual harassment. So the new legislation, to start with, gives us a definition of sexual harassment. And it does define sexual harassment as conduct on the basis of sex that satisfies one or more of the following. The first is quid pro quo, which has not changed. That does relate to an employee of the district conditioning the provision of an aid, benefit, or service on the recipient individual's participation in unwelcome sexual conduct. The second part of the definition is new. This is unwelcome conduct determined by a reasonable person to be severe, pervasive, and objectively offensive, that it effectively denies a person equal access to their educational program or activity. The change here is that the law has created a higher bar for meeting the definition. Previously, the definition included conduct that is severe, pervasive, or persistent. That was the standard set by the Office of Civil Rights, and you could have met any one of those. The new standard more closely follows the standard adopted by the Supreme Court. And then the last prong definition includes sexual assault, dating violence, domestic violence, or stalking. So we have a new definition with a higher bar. We also have a new duty for schools to investigate complaints of conduct that occurred, again, within our program and activity. That's been defined. So that's not actually new, but the definition is new. So the location of schools, program, or activity has been defined as the school building or campus, locations, events, and circumstances where a school exercises substantial control over the context of the harassment and the person committing or the person accused of committing the harassment, on the school bus, on field trips, at school-sponsored activities, academic conferences. The location does not appear to apply, however, to electronic communications over which the district has no control, such as private Facebook accounts. The next change is the adoption of a standard called actual knowledge. This, again, is a higher bar for the provision of sexual harassment and for districts to take action. So actual knowledge means that The district, an employee of the district has to have actual knowledge of sexual harassment activities. And that's what triggers our obligation to promptly respond. Previously, the requirement was that we should have known that if the behavior was occurring on school property or during school-sponsored events, we should have known. So now, if any employee of the district, any teacher, administrator, Title IX coordinator in any elementary or secondary school has knowledge or of harassment or knowledge of allegations of harassment, that's considered actual knowledge, and it triggers our responsibility to respond promptly. The next area of the law and the policy that has been revised is a term called deliberate indifference. So in other words, once the district has actual knowledge that there may potentially have been harassment, we must respond in a way that is not deliberately indifferent. That's defined as a response that's unreasonable in light of known circumstances. So in other words, the district's response must be prompt. We must treat the parties equitably. There's new terminology in terms of the complainant and the respondent. The complainant is the alleged victim and the respondent is the alleged perpetrator. There's a requirement to discuss the availability of supportive measures with both the complainant and the respondent. There's also a requirement to consider the complainant's wishes with respect to those supportive measures. There's a requirement to explain the process for filing a formal complaint as well as the grievance process. And there's a requirement to follow the grievance process, this is also new, before making a responsibility determination and before imposing any disciplinary sanctions. We're also required to impose remedies or implement remedies designed to restore or preserve the educational access. So in terms of supportive measures, some examples of those include counseling, an extension of deadlines, possible course adjustments, potential schedule changes, potential increased security, possibly a monitor, an escort for the student to go to class. These are measures that will all be considered, offered, and discussed to both the complainant and the respondent. Also changed in the law and the policy is the role of the Title IX coordinator. It's greatly enhanced. The Title IX coordinator is basically authorized to coordinate compliance with the new regulation. So in other words, working with the buildings to complete the investigation, making sure that the complainant and respondent receive the letters attached, notifying them that a complaint has been followed. The Title IX coordinator is the only person in the district who may file or submit a formal complaint. So for example, in your packet, there's a form for a formal complaint and a form for an informal complaint. Informal complaints are not investigated, but they will be addressed at the building level. Formal complaints are investigated, and the grievance procedures trigger the investigation and they outline what the investigation consists of. However, due to the deliberate indifference criteria, if anyone in the district is made aware of potential sexual harassment, we are required, actually the coordinator is really recommended to complete a formal report so that the district is not found to be deliberately indifferent. So the coordinator can file a report and can initiate with the buildings an investigation even if the complainant chooses not to. With that being said, there is an informal resolution process that will be discussed with the complainant. In these cases, a full investigation does not need to be conducted as long as written consent of both parties, the complainant and the respondent, is obtained. This does not apply if the allegation involves an adult respondent and a student complainant. But in the case that the complainant and the respondent do agree in writing to conduct have an informal resolution, that may look like peer mediation, a restorative meeting, something of that nature. Next, the The admin regulations include detailed grievance procedures that we'll follow when a formal complaint is filed and when we're not engaging in informal resolution procedures. The investigative procedure is quite detailed in terms of the respondent and the complainant both receiving letters with copies of the policies and the regulations, having both parties aware of the fact that they have the right to an advisor, to work with them, to submit evidence, to see the evidence that each party submits, to participate in the initial interview, to have the opportunity to present witnesses and evidence. The investigator will issue a written report with a summary of evidence. Both parties have 10 days to review the report and respond if necessary. The district has a burden, the burden of proof is on the district, and the district is using the preponderance of evidence standard. That is a standard that's in line with our expulsion hearings. So we felt that the preponderance of evidence standard was the best for our district. The other option was clear and convincing evidence. There is a new role in this new procedure, and that's called a decision maker. The decision maker will be the superintendent and or the superintendent's designee. That individual will review the investigative report from the building and make a determination of responsibility as well as discipline and further accommodations if appropriate. There is also an appeal process, and the decision maker, the building investigator, and the Title IX coordinator will not be obviously involved in the appeal process. That will go to a different individual in the district, potentially the assistant superintendent. So that's the changes in a very brief summary, and I'm happy to take questions if anyone has any.
Jean?
Okay, here goes. I'm the lawyer, see, so it's not my field, but I'll give it a go. One typo, I think, in both the 4,000 and the 5,000 references made to the Violence Against Women Act, a particular section of it, where it says 34 USC 12291A3, it should be 30. But you can check that. I think that's a typo. But now to more serious things. There's no question that when you deal with these policies, you do get into gray areas. And by gray areas, I include things like what happened to one of my sons when I think he was either in kindergarten or first grade, and there was an incident where he hugged a classmate out of affection. But it had to be treated and dealt with. But I will say that it left a mark, not a permanent emotional mark, but try to explain to a 6 or 7 year old that while hugs are good things, sometimes they're not. And he didn't do anything wrong, but don't do it again, that sort of thing. And that's kind of the problem, although we're a K through 12 district and Title IX covers K through 12. And sexual harassment and whatnot can occur at almost any level. A lot more can be expected of a high school senior than of a kindergartner in terms of judging what is correct and what is not. So that's a problem built into having a single policy. It's unavoidable because that's the law, but that's a problem. You're dealing not with all adults, but with, as I said, anywhere from 5-year-olds to 18-year-olds and beyond. One of the things, and this is in no particular order, one of the things that struck me is type of sexual harassment could include repeatedly asking for dates despite being rebuffed. Now, ordinarily, if you were to tell somebody that, they'd say, oh, really? Well, we've all known situations where someone asks again, and maybe the second or third time, they get a date. And from time immemorial, for a lot of situations, that's kind of how the game is played. Sometimes there isn't a game. When the person says no, they mean no. Sometimes when they say no in that situation, they don't really mean no. You're dealing with youth here. I would like to think that because that type of conduct would probably fall under Roman numeral 2. In other words, it would have to be severe, pervasive, and objectively offensive. That we're not talking about somebody saying, well, he asked me out twice, so I feel harassed. I don't think we would consider that harassment. But where is the, there's no bright line here. So if someone were to determine a complaint comes along, somebody was asked repeatedly, meaning how many times? You were asked for a date, and they said no. By what standard would that be judged? The reasonable person standard, the reasonable woman standard, the reasonable teen girl standard, the reasonable teen boy standard? That's one of my concerns, having not really gone through any of this stuff. What's the standard for how that would be judged? The other a problematic area is, and this is again in both the 4,000s and the 5s, is the fact there's no time limit. And that's in recognition of the fact that people can be very reticent about coming forward with an allegation of misconduct. And sometimes they never come forward. Sometimes they wait a long time to come forward. And what I'd like to avoid is a situation where somebody wakes up in their senior year and remembers something that happened in 8th grade. Maybe they don't remember correctly. Maybe they do. I don't know. But that's working into this. There's a goal for why I'm saying what I'm saying. And that is this. Because it's meant to be expansive and recognizing the problems with this area and the problems that people face when they are sexually harassed or even assaulted, which becomes a criminal matter. The result of that is there's a very, very free range for people, whether they're investigators, very, very free range for people to move around in. And so we have very expansive language, hence no time limit, and so on. The one problem, it is a problem. It's not just in this area, and that is a standard of proof. I realize the regulations now allow the district to adopt either preponderance of the evidence or clear and convincing. But because the procedure is not what you would expect in a due process situation, it's an administrative procedure. And because we're dealing with kids, there is research. So people understand preponderance of the evidence can be phrased as 50% plus a feather. Some people put it poetically that way. Beyond a reasonable doubt is what you see in criminal matters. The clear and convincing is sort of an in-between standard. It's more than preponderance, but certainly less than less than preponderance of the beyond a reasonable doubt. But there has been research done. I can point people to a work out in UCLA that shows that the lower the standard, the higher the shall we say false conviction rate that you have. It can be very, very high. But because no one's going to jail, because no one's paying a fine, and because liberty is not at stake, the lower threshold, the lower proof threshold is deemed okay. But because this policy covers everything from lewd jokes to actual sexual assault, such as rape, you could have a situation where someone's accused of something quite serious that ultimately could be referred to the state's attorney. They could be completely acquitted. It could be nollied. It could be simply not pursued because it doesn't add up to anything criminal. But in the school system, because we have preponderance of the evidence, 50% plus a feather, the school district could find it, yes, there's a violation. Because after all, probably something happened. Maybe something happened, probably something happened. So somebody could be in a situation where they face no criminal, ultimately face no criminal sanction, but now they have the district having found them guilty of. And even if you don't use the word guilty. So I would prefer, if we have the option, to have a somewhat higher standard. That would require some training, of course, but I would prefer to have a higher standard because of what we're dealing with here. As lousy as it is to be on the receiving end of harassment or assault, it's also kind of lousy to be innocent and to be found with a very, very quick system to be guilty of something. People have been framed. People have been innocent and been found guilty. It does happen, and it happens. The lower the burden you have, the more often it does happen. I would like to also add where it says that parties can have an advisor of their choice. If we mean that that can also include an attorney, I would like that specified. And finally, I will end it by this. I wasn't clear from the language whether the decision maker was to be the superintendent, but now that I see that it is. And one small problem I have with that is if you have a hot situation and you have somebody visible as the superintendent making the decision about whether or not to, quote, convict or acquit, might there not be some undue pressure? I'm just throwing that out there for consideration. Should it be somebody more anonymous, if you will, than the superintendent, who is a very visible person, has a lot of interests at stake? So that's, in a nutshell, very large nutshell, what my comments are.
So Dean, I so appreciate your ability to sort of do that. I'm not quite sure what to do about your comments, though. Some of them make sense, and I guess I need help in understanding, is this a philosophical thing for you around how this policy is written, or if there's clear direction around, it wasn't clear to me, and that's probably because I'm not a lawyer and I don't play one on TV. And so it sounds to me, though, there's some technical things that maybe would be useful for Susan and Denise to kind of hear from you about, because I would want to make sure that our policy makes the most sense for people. And this is only the first reading.
Right.
You know, and also I think that this is important, that if you're seeing something and viewing this through the lens of an attorney, and this has kind of come to us through possibly CABE and its lawyers, then I think then that information should get shared on some level as well too. But that's another side. But
and I will readily admit, I didn't come with this as a fully baked set of, here are my proposals for amending or modifying the text.
The policy is actually the model policy from Burcham and Moses PC, our attorneys at law.
Okay.
They provided the training slides in the model policy. It's very similar, obviously, to the Shipman and Goodwin policy because it follows the statutes.
Oh, and I mean no disrespect when I say this. It does not appear homegrown. It's I figured that it's usually a pretty good idea to take well-developed text, well-developed policies from elsewhere. I have no problem. Lawyers do that all the time. We've touched stuff from each other all the time.
I guess if there's technical things that Dean, that you see that might need to be somehow thought about differently in the policy, if you could shoot an email to Susan and Denise, I would appreciate that, because once again, this is first reading.
I have one request too, because again, I just got on the board. The administration, I'm sure, has under the previous policy dealt with situations of harassment or assault. And what I'd like to know is, what's the district's experience with what is actually going on? Because it's one thing to adopt policies, but to address issues, but what physically is actually going on in our schools? You know, what problems are we, I'm not saying there aren't, I'm not saying that at all, but what is our experience with handling these problems and dealing with resolving them, et cetera? Because that's sort of the other end of this.
Right. And so that's not a discussion for tonight, because we're talking about the actual policy now.
Oh, sure. No, I understand.
Policy. But so you can talk to me about whether you see that as an agenda item, or if that's an offline conversation to have with the superintendent. I could kind of go either way on that. But is there any other discussions on this policy? Dean, once again, I actually learned something, so I really appreciate your.
Yeah, sorry to be so verbose.
That's all right. Hearing none. All those in favor of approving for the first reading policy P4118-112, sexual harassment, as a first reading, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Abstain?
Oh, I oppose.
Okay.
For the time being, yeah.
So Joan, did you get that?
I did.
Okay, thank you. We are going to do the policy for 514, but I just wanted to let people know, I'm sorry, that's my cat because she decided that she really wanted my soup bowl, and then now is all over the floor. Is that we're going to take number 5, which is the executive session, but I would like to use that at the end so that most people can leave, and to go into information and comments from the community and advanced planning, and then go into our executive session about the contract. Is that okay for most people? Can I get a yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Sure.
Don't we have one more policy?
Yes, I
Yeah.
said before we
Oh,
go
okay.
into that policy, I
Okay.
just wanted to say
All
that
right,
that's.
I'm sorry, I'm falling asleep.
I do that to people.
Liz, would you please be willing to read the motion for the second policy, please?
Okay, to approve policy P 5145.5 sexual harassment as a first reading.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
That would be Jane. Discussion. Denise, is this similar to what we just went through?
Yes. Identical.
Okay.
And I had the same concerns.
But this is for the student end, not the staff end. Is that my understanding?
Yes.
Okay.
4,000 is the adults or the professionals, and 5,000 is always students.
Kim, is this time for a question?
Yes.
Okay. Who determines, I heard what Dean said about the incident with his son. Who determines whether there should be a reaction as it was in his case? Is it the child, the parent, or the school?
I don't have the answer to that. Denise?
The way it has been in the past is that the person who feels that they have been the victim generally comes forward, and depending on the age of the victim, it can be the victim coming forward, or it can be the parent coming forward. Generally, sexual harassment is something that that is specific to that individual in terms of their response to certain behaviors or certain activities.
Let me get down to the real crux of my question, which is if the student doesn't complain and the parent doesn't complain, does the school supersede that and say this falls under this policy, so we're going to take action?
Well, the school has an obligation to maintain safety in the buildings. So the teachers and the administration would take action if they felt that there was a violation of the school code of conduct. But
I understand that, but I'm talking about something as...
They have not filed a report on behalf of the student. That is a new feature in the new regulations. That's the deliberately indifferent standard.
So if there's a child in the kindergarten and the child doesn't complain and the parent doesn't see it as an issue, the parent of the victim, so to speak, then the school does or can.
Are you talking about currently or?
Yeah, with the new law, with the new policy.
Well, I can't really respond to the scenario that Dean was explaining. I'm not familiar with it. So I don't think I could respond without.
I'm not talking about that experience. I'm talking about any experience where the parent and the child do not complain. And it's an innocuous thing. It's not rape. It's not obvious.
I can weigh in a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
One of the things that I think has been enormously helpful is that we have this procedure and we have a form. And when people are concerned about this, we ask them, I mean, sometimes they raise, sometimes parents or individuals will raise concerns. and I direct them to Denise, and there's a policy, and they fill out a complaint. In other words, making an offhanded comment is one thing. Actually writing a complaint is another. So we've had you know, I won't say zero. We've had some pretty serious things that Denise does this really thorough investigation, but it very rarely gets to that. I mean, I guess if we, in answer to your question, if we saw something egregious, the school officials would contact the parent and say, look, we think something really terrible went on here. But 99.9% of the time, it's the victim comes forward, we have a talk about it. Sometimes we believe there's evidence that they fill out a form, we investigate it, and we go from there. But practically speaking, in somewhat innocent, innocuous thing like this would get settled at the classroom, never mind the principal level.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, I'm not sure my question was answered, but it's a little clearer. Okay, I'll stop.
Any further questions? All those in favor of the first reading of the policy P5145-5, sexual harassment, please say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain.
I'm abstaining because I really don't have an answer to my question.
Okay. I think that passes though, right, Joan? Yes. All right. So
Yes, it does.
Thank you, Joan. I'm moving on to communications. Jay, do you have any communications or letters?
I believe I received the same ones everyone else did about their concerns with regard to schools being fully open or schools being fully closed. And I think we all have a better understanding of that at this point. I just want to make a quick point. Again, I want to congratulate Susan on her appointment. And I want to make it clear for those watching at home that in this process, over 400 people were interviewed to create a leadership profile that led to something we could use as we went through the many candidates that we did go through. And she hit on all of those, everything that was in the profile. I think she has a unique understanding of the military child. She grew up in this area. Her father was, Admiral Austin was head of the sub-school for many years in the area. And so I think she's just uniquely qualified to step into the very big shoes that Dr. Grenier leaves behind. And I think we're very lucky to have had both of them.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Jane?
I didn't have my hand up, but I'm sure I'm thinking. The only thing that's making Dr. Grenier's retirement tolerable is the fact that Susan is stepping in. I'm very grateful. I've sat there during the search committee many times saying, oh dear God, we have to do the right thing. And we did.
Thank you, Jane. Liz?
I just wanted to say I do appreciate it when the public does reach out and explain how they're, what their concerns are, and I encourage everybody to continue that. I want to add my congratulations to Susan, and I want to congratulate the committee because we did do our job, and I want people to understand that we did not take this lightly, and we did survey quite a number of different people, and Susan just rose to the top, and I want to congratulate Susan in my own honest, sincere way that I'm really happy for you, and I'm really happy for Groton, because that's what's really important here in this capacity, is that we have somebody who's going to continue to lead, and she's a strong and a very competent leader. So Susan, my sincerest congratulations.
Appreciate that.
Rosemary.
And Mrs. Lee, and from me too, of course.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you, Lee. Rosemary? You are not muted. I mean, you are muted.
trying to unmute.
There you go.
Congratulations also from me. And we are all much better off. And I got to tell you, the research that we had to do was hernia making. So with carrying around all the different things that we needed to read and to do a good job, but Susan was hands and everything above everybody.
Thank you.
I also wanted to mention that I have also been to some board meetings for Sound Community Services and GASP. And GASP has something that we might want to look into utilizing, which is a webinar about resiliency.
Thank you.
That's it.
Maybe to get to Susan or Mike about that video, so the district can have access to that. That probably would be helpful. I would hate to have it just sit in this meeting and not go further.
Oh, I definitely will.
Thank you, Rosemary. Rita.
I received the same emails, I believe, as everyone. And I really feel it's so important for the public to reach out to the board and continue to do that, and look forward to having all our students back in school, and hopefully the vaccine will become available in the near future for all of us to have, and we can safely return to school. And also congratulations, Susan.
Andrea?
I received the same emails and I'm very grateful for them. And I just want to say to Susan, bravo.
Lee?
I would also like to say that the piece on 60 Minutes last night was excellent. It is worth if you can get to see it. It was absolutely terrific. I've also received all of the same information that everyone else has. And I would also like to say that I'm particularly glad that most of us who didn't know her to meet Mary, who facilitated the search. It was a good experience for me. Thank you.
Dean.
I'll keep it simple. Congratulations, Susan.
Thank you, Dean.
Nice job.
I received the same letter and I've already welcomed you, Susan. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And so we have the meeting dates that are for December. Note that we're only having one committee of the whole and one regular meeting in the month of December. And there's the meeting with the other town bodies that are there. And future agenda items, do we have any? Rita, you'll need to unmute.
I have a question. I thought we weren't meeting on December 21st. Thought it was the 14th.
I think that was last year's, this upcoming future that we talked about.
We've never have met in that week right before Christmas. And I thought we changed those dates to have a committee of the whole.
That was for next year's. That was for next year's.
Well, could we think about doing that, please? Because I think that is very difficult to have that meeting then, but that's just my feeling. It's always been the first, the committee of the whole and a regular meeting, but never the week of Christmas. So that's just how I feel. So I don't know if it's something you want to consider or think about.
Mike, Susan, and I will chomp on that.
Thank you.
And I agree. Yeah, I agree.
I just say, if Jay, we could actually meet on Monday, the 30th. If we move the whole thing up, we could have a COW on the 7th, and we could have a board meeting on the 14th.
Right.
So instead of putting people on the spot, how about if we think about that and
Joyce and I will send out a poll. We'll get it done, and I'll have the information when we meet, Kim.
Okay. Any other agenda items?
So one of the things I was talking to Mike about is that the principals have brought their survey data on hybrid and full distance learning, plus their focus group and, you know, anything that's come in recently. And they figured out action plans around some of the challenges. So they would like to bring that to the board at a COW. So the next COW, they're prepared. And they've actually sent me the documents, so I can send you the documents ahead of time to take a look at. But they've really done this in, you know, with their data teams and with their school teams, so that it wasn't just the principal's action plan, but it is a school action plan.
That would be great. All right, I am going to make a motion that the Board of Education go into executive session for purposes of talking about the contract for Susan Austin, our next superintendent. I'm going to ask that Lori Lapine, who is our human resource person, and Ken Knight come in with us, and Susan as well. Andrea, I'm wondering if you will just do the prerequisite, who's here when we go in and et cetera. Can I have a second to that motion, please?
Second.
That would be Liz. All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Abstain, that motion is carried. So Mark, how are you gonna work the magic on this one, buddy?
I have the board set up, and you want to include Susan, Lori, and Ken?
That's correct.
Okay.
But this is going to have to stay open because we're going to have to go back into here for a vote.
You
or
got
not.
it. You got it.
All right, or to at least adjourn the meeting. All right. So with that said, if you could do your magic, Mark, and send us on our way, that would be cool.
Thanks for hanging in there, Mark.
Hey, Mark, we're back.
Hooray.
Is Rosemary not back? But I have a quorum. Is that correct?
Yes, you do.
Yes, you do.
I just pushed her back.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have everybody vote.
I know, but
Screw it.
Is she coming?
Andrew, would you be willing to make sure that the motion gets, like you write down that and you do your magic with Joan? Thank you.
Jane, I wanted to know if Jane, when we went into executive session, it was you, Kim, and Jane, right? Is that correct? Who seconded that?
To go into executive session, I thought it was Liz.
It was Liz? Okay. I had Liz and I put Jane. Okay, thank you.
There she comes.
Rosemary, you with us? You're on mute. Is there a way, Mark, to unmute her?
She's in. I'm done. I didn't know where to punch on my screen.
She's in.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I would like to make a motion for the board to accept the terms of the contract that was worked on. What would be the motion, guys? Probably
That we accept the contract as proposed by you? Or to accept the proposed contract?
Yes.
Does that sound? Where's Joan when I need her?
The proposed contract between the Board of Education and Susan Austin.
There you
Yes.
go. Can I have a second to that?
Second.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
I don't know who seconded it.
I did.
Jane.
Jane, this time it is Jane.
And who moved it?
Jay.
Okay. Thank you.
Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion that's on the floor to approve the contract by the Board of Education with Susan Austin as our next superintendent, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You oppose, Susan? You can't vote.
No, I don't oppose.
Abstentions?
Abstention. Motion is carried. Andrea?
Motion to adjourn.
So that would be at 8:40. It was seconded by Rita.
Yes.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy
It's a
Thanksgiving.
blessing.
Thank
Thank you. God bless you
Welcome
all.
home, Jane.
My birthday.
Welcome home.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Stay well.
Happy birthday.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.